episode while we're having kind of like a staff lunch kind of thing. I don't know. It's buffet.
Team lunch, team party.
Yes. So it's been a long day of working, taping, interviewing, that kind of thing. So welcome to episode 40. You got to pardon us that we might be eating while we're taping this episode. But we keep talking about food. Got to eat, right? Okay. So today's episode, of course, is all about technology within the hospitality industry, because there's probably not one area of this business now that does not have an app, a service, a website, something new using all the new technology that to kind of make things easier for businesses to connect to their customers, or for customers to get more options, better service, higher, bigger product ranges, that kind of thing. So I'll go through a couple of industry news. Oh no, we got to talk about what we were drinking. A Strongbow cider.
Mm-hmm.
Stacey, you'd like to talk about this? Because this is Stacey's find.
Ooh, Strongbow cider.
Mm-hmm.
It's yummy. I love it. Love it over ice.
Cider is hot right now.
It's very hot in the market, and it's one of the growing markets actually right now for beverages that is not a beer. And if you haven't tried it, go try it. And it's kind of fun if you go see in the LCBOs in Sudbury area, you'll see there's some water bottles floating around on top as a freebie.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you can pretty much, so you can get them at the LCBOs beer store. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. They're not in the grocery stores? You know, some of the grocery stores carrying the beer sections. Are they in there, you think?
I think that will find them in there. Yes, you will.
Okay. Well, I will have a link in the show notes anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I think that if you're not used to having ciders, especially the new ciders, it's surprisingly it's not sweet like a classic apple cider.
Mm-hmm.
These are traditionally more on the dry cider side. So it's a cider meant for beer drinkers, essentially. So it's a little bit refreshing, has a little fruitiness to it, but it's certainly not so appley that it's like drinking juice.
Definitely not overly sweet. It's definitely more of like
A tart.
sweeter, tartar juice.
Mm-hmm.
A tart. Definitely.
And when
full
it's
of
when it's
apples.
ice cold.
It's so yummy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so yummy.
It's
It's definitely I think it's a great long weekend drink if there's one, or a nice weekend. Put your feet up on a stool on your patio and have a couple before you have dinner.
A couple before you had dinner. That's my girl.
A couple.
She doesn't even shy away from that. So have a couple before
Me
dinner.
too.
As opposed to have a glass while you're making dinner.
No, have a couple.
We don't beat around the bush here. So let's get to some quick industry news. I was kind of updating Stacey about this just before we started taping today. But so Expedia is being sued by a small inn in BC called Moonwater Lodge over unfair practices that have been supposedly costing them sales for almost 2 years. So what's been happening, allegedly, keep wanting to put allegedly because it is still under investigation, but I guess this inn realized through customers contacting them directly, and they noticed it was happening more and more over 2 years, where anyone who tried to book a hotel room in their area on Expedia was being told that there's no rooms available for those dates. And just like most travel websites, it now suggests to you other hotels that you can try, which is not that bad unless those other hotels, they are listed are Expedia members, meaning that portions are going back to them. And that's one of those things that maybe you, Stacey, has more insight into that, but I'm guessing that hotels they can just be listed on Expedia, and then if they're actually membership, they get different things. So how is that price leveling working? Because that's basically what they're claiming, is that the ones that Expedia get commission on, those are the ones that are getting directed.
Right. I think what happens, I used to work for Expedia, so from what I understand, what occurred was that anybody that had anything to do with Expedia itself, you had to be bought in with a contract. So whether it was a hotel or cruise or a different travel app or something, it was all done on head office side of things. And what happens is if you have a regular app on your phone, there's different benefits for a person to book online through Expedia versus an odd search and stuff. But what the importance is that they probably were a member, and they didn't get shown through, because you can't normally research a hotel through an Expedia site that isn't a member of Expedia. So what maybe the issue is with them is that they were promoting different hotels rather than that property, perhaps.
We'll have to check through the link. I'm going to
I'm gonna
include the
have to.
link to the CBC story on in the show notes. But they mentioned something about they were sending them to hotels that Expedia would get paid for.
Right. Now, but so then maybe they weren't a member, but normally you can't pull up a hotel that isn't a part of their auspices or under their umbrella. So I'm wondering if they didn't realize they needed to be a member, or
is it just a matter of potentially, like a lot of these sites, like take a look at Google, for example. When you Google something, your top 3 are typically ads, and then your 4th or your 5th one is where the actual just listings start. You know, and a lot of directory websites have where you pay a premium to be suggested.
Absolutely.
So I would be sure that I would be shocked if they weren't making money off of those recommendations. It'd actually be silly not to.
Oh, they are.
I don't know if it's unfair business practice per se. I don't love it either. Actually, as a
consumer,
I
think it's not the fact that they were directing them to those particular websites because that's what they paid for. It was the fact that
it
was always showing them as unavailable.
Well, that's something more the issue is were they tainting potentially what they
wanted to direct
results were that were coming up.
Absolutely, and that's where I think maybe they were a member of the Expedia groups, meaning that they were logged under as a member of a hotel that would be, supported by Expedia, and then that's kind of where I sensed from what we were talking about earlier was the issue is that they probably did have room availability, and if that's the case, then yes, they do have a site, like a site to say they do have like a platform to be able to.
So I guess it'll be interesting to see, and as this nerd keeps up on her news, I'll update you if I hear anything else. But the interesting thing is, I guess Expedia has been charged with something similar before. So this is not the first time this kind of thing has happened.
Oh, and I was telling you about an experience I had, and it's interesting. It might fall along the same lines, and you have to wonder about it. When I was working with Expedia, I booked through my Expedia app to a vacation at Greece. It came with a package where you went from one island to the other and you stayed at this hotel and then stayed at this hotel. And I got to one of the hotels and it was supposed to be a 4-star because I upgraded the package from a 3-star to a 4-star. I got there and the hotel was actually a 3-star. So even being a travel agent with the company, it still doesn't matter who you are. You have to be very careful and be aware of what you're really buying into and to really research the specific hotels. If you're investing in going on like a vacation like that, you're better off to book separately rather than in a package form, especially somewhere like Greece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Makes
sense.
sense.
It's interesting because we talked about a couple of shows ago about star ratings and how, especially when traveling to different countries, my instinct is always to never go smaller than 4. Because a 4-star in some countries can be different than or be the same as a 3-star in another country. Even though it's supposed to be standardized, the reality is, like my personal experience,
not at all. And it's funny in the other show, which I'm sure people will hear, is that one of the examples is that I always send people, they suggest to people, there is a 5-star in Cuba, Cayo Santa Maria, that is a 5-star, excellent property. It's a Royalton. Right beside it is the Sol Starfish, which is a 3.5. It might be a 4 now. I have to say that I personally have experienced both those properties. I now send people to the 3.5 star.
Yeah.
Better service, better food, better environment than the 5-star adult only. Just because you don't have choice in terms of food and products, it's more streamlined. It might have changed since then, but I'm going to say the stars sometimes don't give it all away. And a lot of people think you go to Cuba, you need somewhere like a 5-star. Not the case. So always look for a travel agent who has been to certain areas and who totes the experience of what star is what in certain properties in certain areas.
I've been to a 3-star in Cuba before and I loved it.
Yeah. You see, and it depends. It depends on what you're looking for, what the expectations are, and if thunderstorms throughout the week, or it's one of those things, or if you're a beach person or food person. Again, you have to be careful where you're booking. Nowhere in Canada are you going to find, in Canada, I mean, you're from Canada or North America, you're not going to find the food standards as we do here. Doesn't matter where you go, any of the islands, whether it's Jamaica, Dominican, Mexico, Cuba, I find the food is subpar no matter where I go in the islands.
Yeah.
And
I
see,
consider that no matter what.
And I was expecting that. So, I mean, everything that I pretty much needed, like I went alone the last time I went to Cuba and it was a 3-star, and they had everything I needed. The place was clean, but the food, I expected the food to be, I mean, it's a communist country, and, It was a good experience. I mean,
You
for what
didn't
it was
starve.
worth.
There's
Was that?
always
You don't starve.
I didn't starve.
There's
No,
always
it was-
things. You know what? Go to the fish. I mean, seriously, if anything else fails, any of those islands, you just go to the fish. They
Okay, I'm
grill
not gonna
fish.
go my big speech.
Yeah.
Don't go to Cuba and complain because the burger isn't good enough.
Oh, or the meat.
or the
the meat.
Or the hot
pizza.
dogs.
Yeah, you know.
They don't make lasagna like I do.
Oh,
Of
the
course not.
Or the steaks taste different. Of course they do.
If
And
you didn't see those skinny cows from when they're way going by from the
Yeah.
airport,
You wouldn't have noticed.
right? Because
right.
so beef is not their thing.
No,
Well, and I
exactly.
think it's always too, like, everyone's palate is different, everyone's standards are different as well too.
Absolutely.
With our recent trip to Punta Cana, like all of the guests raved about this Italian restaurant that was on the resort, and there was like an Asian fusion, there was a Japanese, there was a seafood restaurant, there was a steakhouse. They had like a range as they typically do. And my husband and I saved the Italian for the last night because honestly, I didn't go to the Dominican to have Italian.
Not a girl.
That's exactly it.
And then we went in and we had it, and it was very plain. It was very like,
Yeah.
you know,
That's why they liked it.
and this was
'cause it was
exactly
recognizable.
it. And that's what I
Yeah.
said to my husband. Like, we were super underwhelmed, but we also expected it, which is why we weren't too keen. It wasn't gonna be the first one we were going to, and it was because our families, being older and maybe not as well traveled, it was comfortable. It was what they recognized. It was what they were used to. And so it's always, that's why when I talk about star ratings and people's like reviews and that kind of thing, you have to recognize where it's coming from and make sure
Absolutely.
you're checking that source, because their reflections and their opinions may not represent yours.
Mhm.
If they've only ever ate at the pasta station all week,
Yeah.
odds are they
Yeah.
haven't really tried.
Or if they only go to chain food stores, right?
Yeah.
Like our chain markets. And I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, you're not going to get consistency when you go away to anywhere. And if you're regularly eating at like a franchise place, and it's consistent because their food it's cut and boxed and sent, right? Like, and it's
They get it and they put it in the oven. and they
It's
just cook it.
standardized for a reason.
yeah. I mean, it's consistent. You're not going to find consistent when you're traveling. Never, because you're going to see the mom and pops places, and you're going to go on into the resort, and you're going to have. You also have to keep in mind that these people are cooking for hundreds,
Oh my god,
thousands of people on a
volumes
resort.
of
The
people
volumes.
eating at that resort was mind blowing. I was just thinking about having the limited caring background
Yes.
that I have of cooking for a few
Yeah.
hundred
Yeah.
people.
Right.
I said to my husband, I'm watching the food they're pumping out,
Mhm.
and I said the logistics behind this.
Mhm.
I
It's
would
wild.
love to get back in the kitchen and back in the planning and see, because that's a whole
It's math
other
at that point.
whole other thing. It's phenomenal.
Mhm. So true. It's so true. And you just have to be open minded to experience new things. If you're going to travel, you're going to actually open up your mind to new experiences. We have the hashtag one new thing. Well, hashtag one new thing. Everywhere you go on an island, try one of their new fruits, try one of their new foods that you've never tried. I was in Jamaica and I don't know what the fruit was. It was hard outside and you opened it up and it was kind of like interesting inside. Not my favorite. I didn't get the name of it. I don't really need it. But the thing was, I was like, okay, at least I tried it, right?
Yep.
Or trying
Like
dragon
when I
fruit
tried
or
the
star fruit
papaya.
or
And
or
with me, it
lychees.
was
Like, how many
guava.
people have eaten lychees?
Yeah.
Guava's got a nice
Guava,
texture to it.
When I went to Cuba, but the guava that they had, it wasn't fully ripe, so it was a little bit bitter.
Mhm.
But I forced myself every day. They had three choices. There's and this was at the buffet. But they had pineapple, they had oranges, and they had guava. Those are three choices. And every day I forced myself to have guava.
Absolutely.
And
Why
it
not?
grew
right?
on me, and by the end I was
Yeah.
craving it.
And see, me was the mango. I love mango already. Having lived in
Absolutely.
Australia, we had like fresh mangoes like dropping off the trees,
Yes.
literally.
Yeah.
And coming to Canada, the mango, it's just, there's no comparison. And so I literally loaded up my plate at every breakfast just full of mango to just shovel it all in and get all of the goodness I could before I came back.
Absolutely wonderful. I have a thing for lychees, so I look for lychees
Yes.
on a buffet, and it's crazy. When I was in Jamaica the last time, it was the first time I've seen them in in the
Mhm.
islands. I was like, I just wanted to take the full bowl off the buffet and
Mm.
just bring it to my seat.
The best.
Yes.
Now everyone in the resorts are gonna be watching her to make sure she's not cleaning off the buffet.
Yeah.
Has anyone
Watch
ever
for
tried that?
Stacey.
Is it lychee or lychee? 'Cause
I-
I call it lychee. My family calls it lychee, but
I
some
call
people
it
call it
lychee.
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 But there's this lychee liqueur at the
Yes,
LCBO.
I have a bottle
You guys-
in my kitchen.
It's got like a red label on it.
Yep.
It
Friend of mine
is
bought
so
it over.
close.
Here, Cynthia, you can make a drink out of anything taste good.
Absolutely.
Use this.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is so close, right?
It is. You're right. Actually, it's right quick, close to the flavor of it.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that just with sparkling wine would be.
Oh,
fun
that would
with
be
me.
nice.
I guess
Absolutely.
a little switch up from a champagne cocktail. Again, I too can make a drink out of it.
Why we're friends. Hashtag why we're friends.
Flag for
the
flavor
last-
game.
The last little bit of industry news has a little bit of a local flair. We just had our Bella Business Excellence Awards here in Sudbury last night.
Congratulations, everyone who were nominated.
And I wanted to give our shout out to some of our hospitality crew. We had a lot of finalists and winners from our hospitality industry here in Sudbury. So a big shout out to winners this year, Cup of Joe Espresso Bar in downtown Sudbury. It was their first big win and it was very cute. So it's the owner and her daughter that went up to accept the award. And as much as she was taped her video on it, she couldn't speak when she went up on the stage to get her award. Her daughter had to speak for her. It was very cute. And then good for her. She barely opened her doors not a few months ago. Is Justine Martin won Young Entrepreneur for Guilty Pleasures Bake Shop and Bar.
Cool.
She hasn't even opened the bar part of her business yet.
Yeah.
She's still bake shop.
I've been waiting for the bar to go and try it.
Yeah, she actually, when it is, you'll hear from us because as soon as the bar side is ready to go, we will be doing a remote episode live from Guilty Pleasures.
Very cool.
Looking
Yeah,
forward to that.
it's going to be a whole cocktail show, which I think will be a lot of fun. I know.
Woo.
That's called a Cynthia.
And you'll be able,
Cocktails and cupcakes.
yes, and you'll actually be able to, if you're in the Sudbury area, once we have those dates set, I'll send it out and we can. You can actually buy tickets, which will not just include coming to see the live taping of the show. I think she only can seat. She had 30 people in there.
Whoa, that's
It's
a hot
pretty-
ticket.
Yep, and we're going to keep the prices fairly nominal, but it will give you samples of any of the cocktails that are made during the show. So you get to sample
Yum.
cocktails and take home cupcakes because their cupcakes are not your standard
Oh, they're so good.
chocolate. Like there's
Bellini.
they're kind of like the really cool high end ones. So
Yeah.
it's got a big lounge feel to it. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Put some cool tunes on and then there were also some other finalists in some of the other categories this year. So I want to give a big shout out to the Cedar Nest Decor and Cafe, also in downtown Sudbury. They were one of the finalists.
They posted a really lovely post on their social media today, but how they were happy for those who won, sad that they lost, but so excited that they had been nominated. It was a really nice post.
Yeah, no, Sue's she's a sweetie pie. So I was really happy to see that someone had nominated her and that she got to the finalist level. And it just sort of gives some kudos to business owners who basically take that risk to open food service businesses here in Sudbury.
Mhm.
And then the other one that I'm surprised he didn't win, he had some strong competitors, but Cousin Vinny's.
Yeah.
So Chris
They're pretty
Vitello,
solid.
besides just being having 2 locations here in the Sudbury area, one in Hanmer and one in Chelmsford, they're also really well known to really working with the community and community events, donating their time, donating money, sponsorships. They've really been involved in the community since they opened their doors. So that's one of the things that everywhere I go, everyone's always asking me, do you know Chris? Do you know the people at Cousin Vinny's? Oh my God, they're so great. So they get a lot of kudos as well. So those are 2 finalists that I just wanted to give a shout out to. So even getting to that cut, you obviously made somebody stand up and take notice of you enough that they took the time to fill out the application form to nominate you for
I
the
have
award.
Congratulations.
Cousin Vinny's at every wedding show because they always have the best tasting food. All about where are we going to get our in-between clients now.
Yeah.
Oh, so now you know. Cynthia goes to eat pizza. Your pizzas did look amazing. I didn't get to have them last time. Okay, so let's get into technology and how it's either making our lives better or worse, especially within the hospitality industry. So let's talk a little bit about online delivery services. So I'm going to list a few that are out there. There's tons of them. I mean, there's Skip the Dishes. There's the 824. Grubhub is probably the one that's most known in North America. Uber Eats, of course, because there's Uber everything now. And then Uber Eats has got contracts with other companies to how to help out with it. Foodora is another one that's out there. And now I'm hearing that Facebook down the States is actually partnering with DoorDash and Grubhub. Well, you can actually order right off the Facebook app, which is a little scary. So it means you don't even have to go to a particular app. You can just order right off the Facebook page. And they've partnered up with delivery services in those particular cities to deliver stuff. So it's removing that one little step.
Yeah, exactly.
And then of course the other one, which Deke knows a lot about, is the Waiter app.
Yeah, Waiter Sudbury. Yeah, which is really unique. I mean, you have other apps that like Skip the Dishes and etc. And they offer full scale menus, right? And this one is just kind of dumbed down to like there's a series of different restaurants and catering services that offer meals, and it's just dumbed down to a choice of A or B options for each. So it's something quick to filter from. You're just scrolling down and you see these magazine type like pictures of the food available, choice A, choice B for every provider. It's something. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and it's delivered to you in a bow tie, which is the gimmick, which is the catch to it.
I like the bow tie. I'm assuming he's wearing something else besides just a bow tie.
Yeah. Of course, white cuffs.
That would be a different kind of.
White cuffs.
That's a different story.
White cuffs and a smile.
I was gonna say, I just see like the pizza boy being replaced in those movies.
This is the white towel.
Shame on me for saying that.
We have a saying at our company where I work, and that's an HR statement. HR.
Yeah, well,
I'm looking at the app now, so it's interesting because it's actually divided by like time period.
Yes. So there's 4 delivery times. There's one at 12, there's one at 2, then there's one at 6, and one at 8.
Good job. He did that right off the top of his head.
Yeah.
So because Cynthia's used it, I haven't used any
So I
delivery
haven't used
services
this
app.
one.
No, but you've
Yeah.
used delivery apps because you also work at home, girl.
Mhm.
Love my delivery app. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. So I haven't used Waiter yet, and I will share why. You have to order an hour before,
Yes.
and the delivery period is between an hour delivery period. So technically, I've got to order like potentially 2 hours before I want to eat.
You got a
Yeah.
plan.
So I'm an event planner, but I'm not very good at planning my own life. So to do that is a challenge for me.
Doctor,
But if you're
heal
someone,
thyself.
yeah,
it's
pretty
cut
much.
off
If you're
point.
someone who's a little bit more put together than I am,
Mhm.
and I guess the only other with the 4 choices, you just have to be in the mood for the choices. That
Yeah,
as well
yeah,
too. I
yeah.
love that. I think the concept is really interesting. I love that it's different, and it's not what everyone else is doing. I
Yeah.
think that's really cool. But right now, my big go-to has been skip the dishes, and the reason for it is selection, speed, and that idea because I work from home.
Mhm.
I don't have time to go out for lunch. Sometimes you just get tired of like the ham and cheese or whatever you happen to have. I eat a lot of crackers and cheese for
Mhm.
lunches and that kind of thing. So sometimes like I just want some like yummy food. I just want like a meal, but I don't want to cook it. And they have it to my door within 20 minutes, and
Wow.
it charges it to my credit card, so I pay for it right online after
Easy.
tipping the driver. It's the ease of the apps that I really, really like. And the fact that like even Waiters got like the menu online, and most of these places they've got the menus online, and it's a nominal delivery charge. It's like I don't think I've ever paid more than $3, and a lot of them have a really low minimum.
Mhm.
Order $20 and it's free delivery. And the convenience of it, and the fact that most of the restaurants listed are local, is
Mhm.
super cool as well. So it's an opportunity
I do
to
love that
support local. They do have like Skip the Dishes does have some chains on it. But I suspect from the ones I'm looking at, they seem to be like franchises as well too. So at least you're still supporting people who
Yeah.
own locally.
Mhm.
So convenience wise, if you're like a busy parent, need to feed the kids before running to dance, you don't have time to go wait in a drive-through line. You get better quality food as well too. So again, if I was well pulled together, I could go on this and order like a hummus lunch, and it'd be there ready for the kids when they come home from school. So it's for you on the ball moms. It's awesome.
I was gonna say hashtag hot mess mom.
Oh yeah, hot mess mom.
Yeah.
That is me to a T. Those movies about the bad moms. That is my life on screen. You want insight into Cynthia's world? That's it.
There you go.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
But that's the big thing is the convenience of it, and that it's not you're not paying a lot more. I haven't
Yeah.
found the prices are elevated too much either.
No.
They're not like I've gone and look, this thing that's $17 in the restaurant is $25 in the app.
Yeah.
I haven't found that at all either. It seems to be the price is wrong part.
And I think that they're expecting that. I mean, the whole idea of these things are both like promotional tools
Yeah.
so that it gives you a chance to taste something that you wouldn't normally do or you can't get out to a particular restaurant. So this allows you to bring that food experience into your home
Yeah.
where you're comfortable and you can eat in your pajamas,
Have your own bottle of wine,
have your own
right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
or a bottle of lychee liqueur that's in your kitchen.
Bottle of lychee, yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've
Exactly.
actually ever made anything with that lychee liqueur. I don't think
You're
I
gonna
have.
now.
We're gonna now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said the challenge
make it-
is on.
So make a cool little cocktail recipe and then we'll have to include it in the show
That would
notes.
be a
Try
challenge.
There we go.
You have a
That's
deadline.
That's a tough flavor to marry up, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's-
Yeah, just be well.
Even
That's why I said-
researching online.
That's why I
You
said it
struggle to find
needs to
stuff.
be.
So maybe I was something tart to go with the sweet.
You
Yeah,
know what,
well,
I've used it before.
I'm just
With
wondering
fruit
about a
cocktail.
bitter. Pardon?
When you make a fruit cocktail, you
Oh.
put a splash of that in it.
You have any bitters at home?
Oh yeah. Do I have bitters?
No.
Really?
Yeah, an experience. Yeah, if not, I was gonna say, am I gonna see you before in the next couple of days or not? But I have a whole selection of bitters too at the house.
Oh, I've only got
Nice.
two.
You have to do a. I'll have to do a tour. If it was only prettier to videotape, I would do like a video tour of my alcohol selection in my
Oh,
house.
I
But
can imagine.
we'd have to
I
upgrade.
know what mine is. People are made by mine, and like, be my friend stuff.
we'd have to increase the security
We need
system
a
on our
longer
house.
episode.
It's like, and here is our rum shelf. Okay, that's because you travel a lot and you get good deals, and people get.
Exactly.
And especially when I'm traveling, especially when I go to either factories or wineries and stuff, they're giving me things.
Mhm.
I'm taking them home.
Mhm.
Problem is, I don't drink as often as people think I do, and I can't possibly drink that much. My lord, can you imagine? I'd be on death's door. Okay. Speaking of restaurants, let's go into restaurant reservation apps. So I have to admit, I have been a long-time Open Table member. For those of you who have never seen Open Table, it is used more down the States. It's more so in Canada. One of the cool things is I just happened to do a quick little search the other day. It sounds so awful to say this, but so I was like looking up reservations for Spain.
Of course you were, as we all do.
But Open Table actually had, so they managed to, I guess they've sent sales rep there, and they've gathered enough, a few restaurants in certain cities in Spain, so they're now opening up to the Spanish market. So as opposed to the old days, Open Table would have websites, that would link into a different country, but it would almost change the language and the look of it.
Oh,
So it was like a knockoff of Open Table or a subsidiary.
interesting.
Now it looks and feels exactly the same way. You choose different cities or communities. They just didn't have a lot, but there was one in the Castile and Leon area. There was one in Seville. There's one or two in another area. There's another couple here. So depending on some of the bigger cities that you're going to. So they have 34 or 36 restaurants right now listed. And of course, Spain is like hot for restaurants. But one of the things I love about Open Table is, first of all, because it's an online source, it's direct to the reservation systems at the restaurant directly. Yeah. So you don't have that problem where you're making a reservation and the restaurant on that end makes mistakes, right? It connects directly to the computer system. So their reservation systems are tied into the infrastructure of basically the software through Open Table.
Through their actual their seating software.
So you can see reviews. You can see reviews. You can see photos people have uploaded, just like you would like a regular Yelp or TripAdvisor or anything else. But it's strictly super diners basically, and. So I love the fact there's a map feature, so you can actually zoom into a particular area and say, I just want restaurants in this particular area. And you can, and then it'll show you which ones are in there. So it's been handy a lot when we're traveling, especially if we're going to a city and we're not sure. I can just open up the app and say, okay, we're looking for a place for lunch that's open now, 2 people. And then I can start scrolling. And then you make the reservation. I say, okay, next reservation's at 1:15. Yep, we can make it for then. Great. And I book it right on the spot.
I used it in Vegas and found it super helpful for when we wanted to dine in at a specific time, or the same thing. Oh my God, like in 20 minutes, where are we going to go that we know we can get a seat? I opened up the Open Table and found it.
It's just, I want a table for 2. I want Italian cuisine, and I want it at 7:30. Done. And it gives you just the ones that are 7:30 at that time. The other little bonus about Open Table is that you are accumulating points, and the points can be redeemed in dollars. They actually mail you a check.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And that check can be used and redeemed at any of the Open Table restaurants.
Cool. I had no idea.
Like I would say, because Deke and I have used it on the hospitality side. The restaurant that we worked at together used Open Table. And that was one of our big kind of features of like, get on and do it through Open Table, because you get your money back and you can come in and redeem it here.
Yeah, I'm notorious
really
though.
Young at that point too.
I redeem
and get. At that point.
I redeem the Open Table dollars, because once you hit certain levels, you can start redeeming checks. I'm notorious for losing the checks though. It's not like you can go back and get another one, and they do have expiry dates on them. Okay. So it's not like you can get one and use it 2 years later, right? It needs to be used on an ongoing basis. I don't know where they end up. I think they end up with those socks in the dryer.
Yes.
Because they seriously, I mean, I can usually find some things at some point. I don't know what it is about Open Table checks. Norman and I joke around. It's a running joke. I think I've redeemed 1 after all these years.
Oh my God.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. So dollars. But I still use it. I like the convenience of it. The cool thing is that there's a big competitor in the US, and it's called Resi. So they've been scooping up customers from Open Table, partly because they have some higher end restaurants that may have been fighting with Open Table for whatever reason. So they're kind of going towards Resi, but they focus mostly on US locations. So if you're traveling in the States and the restaurant that you're really hoping for a reservation for maybe is not on Open Table, you can check out Resi. There's a couple of other ones that are free. You can always go through Yelp and TripAdvisor directly. They actually have booking for reservations directly on their websites now. So you can go through all the usual review things, find the one you like, and you can book it on there right away. And then there's another one called Diner, DINR. It's also free. But that wasn't good enough for some people. So now they're doing things like a new one called I Know the Chef. It is not free. It is for VIP treatment. It is a membership plan. So essentially you're paying per month. These are people who are dining out and want to get on wait lists for the hot spots in certain cities.
Wow.
So the bigger cities like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. I don't know if there's any Canadian cities on it yet, but this is one of the ones that for people who want to get into that Nobu restaurant that they can't normally get into.
I have a comment. I'm just trying to decide whether I have to bite my tongue or not.
Say it.
Why not?
Say it.
It just sounds like that's an app for douches.
There's some that have 3-month waiting periods to get into certain
I
restaurants.
get that, and I respect that. I just and from that perspective, when I think
And
about
if you want to pay for the access,
you know, that 1%, those 1%ers, you know.
Well, it's almost like when you go to Canada's Wonderland or theme park,
Yeah.
you could pay for a fast pass.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
douche.
you-
I'm just kidding.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
you get that feeling of like when someone walks in and I want VIP treatment, so I'm going to pay extra. Just
hey,
to
here
see
in
this stuff.
Sudbury, I hear from servers all the time. There are still the people that walk in
Oh,
there and
there
do the
are.
I know the
Oh.
owner, I know the chef, I know the
Does it get them anywhere though?
not really.
No,
But you know what? If it makes them feel, and so funny, there's some servers and
Mhm.
hostesses have already figured out the game
Mhm.
where they will just like ooh and ah, and we're giving you the special table. It was supposed to be reserved when really it wasn't.
yeah.
But they kind of learn how to make them feel like a rock star in front of their friends because usually it's never someone coming on their own. It's always someone
Yeah.
coming to impress somebody else,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Anyways, there was
We
another
never
one.
saw that in the restaurant we worked in. I did.
There's another cool
No.
one. It's affiliated with Yelp and it's called No Wait. So these are for restaurants that don't have reservations.
Oh,
You go on waiting times. So if you went to a chain restaurant like Chili's or a restaurant in a mall, Swiss Chalet, whatever, down in the States, some of them have some pretty high-end restaurants that just don't take reservations. This puts you on the waiting list and you get an idea of what the waiting times are.
Okay.
So if you know you're on a way to a place, but you can check online, all of a sudden it's an hour-long wait. Right? There's no
You can
point,
adjust
but
your
you can
time.
actually get yourself in line
I
without
love
standing
that.
there and waiting. So anyways, it's called No Wait. I'll have links to all these in the show notes, of course. It's time for Fly in My Soup. I had one to do, and then Stacy messaged me saying, "Can I please have a fly in my soup today?"
I wish we had a camera at that moment just to show Stacy's face because that was beautiful.
Just now?
Mm-hmm.
And fly in my soup, and she does the oh yeah.
This is
So I'll do my serious one to get over with, and then you can vent away.
Okay.
So if you've been following us on the Facebook page, I tried to keep my venting down to a very short paragraph, but the U.S. Embassy had issued a warning to all the U.S. travelers that they needed to watch themselves when traveling in Canada. I can't even say it without laughing. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. So, and it had to do with like there's like terrorists in Canada who are basically targeting and like planning to attack Americans.
Oh my god, I felt like Trump wrote that himself.
And then it was one of those things, it was so bizarre and ridiculous that I'm thinking like, why would they? And there was like ding, 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 ding. Because again, news junkie. So NAFTA has still not been negotiated
Yeah.
or ratified. And they're trying to play hardball where I just remember reading somewhere that Chrystia Freeland, our minister, actually said that they had to take a step away. They're having a bit of a break before they go back into negotiations because they were hitting a wall. And I think this is one way of the American government trying to beat their chest and say, look, we can actually damage your tourism thing if you don't start playing with us. However, welcome the Chinese, because this happens to be the Canada-China Year of Tourism, meaning that the Chinese government is actually promoting Canada as one of the best places to be traveling for the year 2018. It's that over 5%, almost 5% of our population has Chinese ancestry here in Canada. They said China is Canada's third largest tourism source.
Wow.
So, you know what? We don't need the Americans. We love them. We would like them to continue visiting us. But trying to play this, please think that we're full of terrorists trying to target Americans crap is just bizarro.
I feel like the Americans who are going to like abide by that and listen to that advisory are probably the ones we don't want to come visit us anyways.
But what bothers me, I guess, is yes, there's always going to be politics involved in this stuff, and I get it. But I think about people who are online and hear these stories, rumors, whatever, and of any travel source. I mean, Stacey and I have talked recently about, I admit that I've had a nervousness about going to Mexico and certain areas of Mexico because of reports that I've been reading online.
Yeah.
So how do I know Americans are not reading things like this? And this is their U.S. embassy. This is not just a newspaper fake news CNN thing. This is
Not good.
the U.S. embassy that's issuing this notice to all travelers from the States. So it kind of gives that stamp of government approval that yes, Canadians are harboring terrorists whose only goal is to attack Americans who are here. First of all, aside from the fact that they're going to wear an American flag or possibly a MAGA hat, how are you going to identify which ones are Americans and Canadians when they're here? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, okay, vent over. Stacey?
Oh my God,
Let 'em-
Stacey, is your rant actually like earmarked with like
Pink stickers.
with pink sticky
She
notes?
No.
made notes. No,
Oh,
I
that's
made
amazing.
notes. No. But you know, the funny thing I wanted to add on your fly in the soup as well is that it's interesting because I wonder if Canada has the ability to make our embassy make a notice the same way to say careful when you're traveling in the States.
Yeah,
I think it's not
Well, I think,
that's
I
not
think
above.
with all due respect, I think they've
Yeah.
been doing a good enough job
Yes,
on their own.
exactly,
with that.
exactly. But you know what I mean, right? Like how ridiculous.
And the Liberal government would never do that.
No, I
That's
know.
not
How
their thing.
ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
No kidding.
You know what? I always joke
Good
around
fly.
about it. You get, sorry, Deke. Oh, you get a bunch of men. It's dick swinging,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, it
I have to do it because you're a guy in the
It's all
room.
good.
Enos
But
is
that's
just, you know,
why
they're on the table.
it
take
just
it.
has to do. And I always normally get so frustrated with me because that's my natural thing. It's just this. I want to show you. It's this competitive testosterone. Bunch of men in the room.
Mine is
I
bigger
wanna
than yours.
win.
Check this out.
My
That's one of my favorite
travel
lines.
notice is bigger than your travel notice,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And I just, I don't know. I'm just
Deke's
hoping that
actually
people
red
are.
right now.
What? I'm not saying anything.
She said that's what I would take out. I wonder, does that? I don't think that qualifies as an E rating.
Dick?
Yeah, especially now that you echoed it. But no.
You can cut my
Someone's
dick out.
name.
Your dick was
No
embedded,
deal.
but my dick is just taking
Oh
the
no,
edge
we
out.
can just leave it in. I think it's funny. Now when people notice when I actually
Wow.
say dick swinging, you'll know what I mean.
That's too great.
I know. It makes you feel any better, Deke.
Yeah, it's
My
all-
husband blushes at the drop of a hat all the time.
It's funny.
It is my goal in life to make him blush.
There you go.
All right, gives me amusement. Okay, Stacey's got some notes, and she's been itching to talk about this.
Okay, my fly in the soup has to do with what I do for a living. And I'm sure there's other travel agents and possibly real estate agents out there that would have the same feeling as I do about certain things.
There's wedding planners who feel the same.
Same.
What were you gonna say?
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay. My industry, I always get approached by people, whether they're friends, family, people I don't know randomly on social media, and they ask me to, hey, can you check this price on this locale, blah, 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 or whatever. And I go, okay. So I'm going to preface my discussion with people now. I'm doing it more often. There will be a service charge of $100 that is refundable if you book through me.
Yeah.
It is
Perfect.
not refundable if you choose not to book with me. I've had people in the last month or so decide, well, there's no searching to be done. This is the property I want. And they send me a picture and I go, okay, no problem. So then I think, okay, they're going to book with me, so I don't have to be worried. Turns out that they go online after you say, yes, I can match that quote. But I can't match the points on one of those apps
Oh.
that they're giving to you or this or that. However, the difference ends up only being about $200. So do you support locally with someone you know, or do you choose to...
So why did they reach out to you in the first place?
Thank you. Exactly. So then it ends up being, so you don't value the time that I've spent back and forth, because there was not just one, check this price out. There was, well, what about this price? What about flights? Or there's this, what about that? Can we do that? So 2 hours later, my time is worth zero. I'm not volunteering. Being a travel agent is part of the deal. So don't be alarmed. And I think, I'm sure wedding planners have the same kind of fly in their soup as well. That same with real estate agents. You can work with anybody buying a house for weeks on end and then end up them going and booking with somebody else. However,
But you're sorry.
But you're fighting
to
against
interrupt.
technology.
yes.
But here's the thing. I mean, I recently booked my trip to Punta Cana through Stacey,
hmm
and at the last minute, we were looking at adding on another flight.
Mhm.
And she said to me point blank, she's like, "My price is not cheaper than what I can find right here directly on the site. Book directly on the site." Like she's honest as well. If she
Mhm.
can't get a certain price or certain, she'll say, "Cynthia, look at this," or so and so, do this another way. But to the idea of using you to price match and then screwing you over after is just
Mhm.
nasty. It's just
Yeah.
not right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My version of it is very similar. It's a they call and they meet with me and they try and pull all the information out of me in that initial consult.
That's exactly it.
And then you've got this amazing rapport and things have gone really well. And then you turn around and follow up with them and like, oh, no, we've just decided to do it ourselves. I'm like, damn it. They just basically got an hour worth of free advice.
I guess my big beef is this, is that I always want to say to them, what do you do for a living during the day? Would you give 2 hours of your time for free as well? Do you not think my time is worthy? It's worth something.
And you know what, though?
And
people don't.
People do not. They think we just do this for free. It's,
that
we don't.
It's the same as when people will start, trying getting people, trying to massage your pricing around things and whatever else. And on a similar vein, I met with some people and they were really lovely and, maybe things will work out. But their first thing they said, because they wanted to book us very late. And I'm like, we'd love to help you, but our price is our price. And they said, well, but if I booked you 2 years ago, would it be the same price? And I'm like, yes. And they said, well, but, we're not getting all that benefit. And I said, well, realistically, with what we do, it's the same amount of work, but we now need to squish it into 2 weeks instead of a year. So in that regard, if anything, I should be charging more.
Absolutely.
But that's not, and I don't always fault the people. They genuinely, I don't think they get it. I don't think they understand what they're doing and how it is legitimately impacting
our lifestyle
professionals in that regard.
But I think that has to do with transparency. So my quick question, I guess, for Stacey is, do most people understand how travel agents are made? Do they think that because you work in an office or for a company that you are an hourly?
Yeah.
Just like any other retail, telephone, customer service thing where you're getting paid regardless of whether they book or not. Maybe that's one of those things. Because I do understand that in the financial service industry, I mean, Norm's not here today, but that's one of the things that was a big eye-opener for a lot of people he's talked to, where he started explaining how financial planners got paid and how his style of business and how he's licensed in through a back house operation, how their investments or things are paid to provide the services that they do. And it was a big wake-up call because it not just showing that he's not hiding anything, what was actually included, and it actually showed what you did was more valuable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think a majority of people, when I speak with them, I'm very upfront because I usually say, hey, there's $100 refundable towards the trip that you choose to book through me. If you don't book with me, I get $100 for the time that I spend back and forth on my emails. And people get that, but yeah, at the end, it's hard.
Have you started doing that?
Yes.
What's the response been?
It's been no problem. Some people get scared and they run away, which I'm okay with because they weren't going to book with me anyways.
Obviously not.
And I don't want that kind of clientele.
It's like a way for you to weed it out.
I really don't. And I mean, I know it sounds, but the thing is working on commission is based working on commission. It doesn't matter where you work. If you're self-employed, it's based on commission.
It is.
Yes.
Mobile discounts.
Totally over it.
So the only reason I want to touch on this because I used to be one of the employers on a mobile discount app. I saw a cool ad in there and it talked about how it essentially offers your customers a punch card digitally, so they don't actually have to carry it around.
Very cool.
Which I thought was a cool idea. And I thought with all my classes, it could be something that you can set it up, the punch card, however you want, so that you basically come to so many classes. It provides a QR code on a sign that you have in your establishment. If you had an actually brick and mortar type store, you can, it'll automatically through GPS and location services check you in when you get to the store, and it automatically prompts you with specials and stuff like that.
I love that.
It's a phenomenal idea, especially the customer side. It just didn't work for my business. It's called Flock, by the way, so FLOK. Prices were fairly reasonable.
That's a dangerous name.
Flock? Yeah, I had to say it a few times when I was used to tell my students about it, but it was a cool concept at first, but with my business, because I'm so portable, it would be long periods of time, and you can do extra acknowledgement. So if someone showed up for their birthday month at one of my classes, I could actually keep track of people's birthdays and then have a glass of bubbly for them when they're at the class. There's all kinds of cool things you can do with it. So I can see how somebody who's busy in this retail or a restaurant, it will automatically provide a lot of things. And it's not just for one business, but there were a lot of other businesses in town, a couple pizza places and stuff like that were all on that same app.
I was on it at one point.
So the employers are the ones who pay you to be on the app, the customers, it doesn't cost you anything to download the Flock app. So that you can actually, and as you want to look at businesses in your particular city or town that have Flock memberships, and then maybe that might drive you to go to those particular places, especially if you're price sensitive, right? So it's a cool concept, but it was just a little bit more complicated. And you can set up whatever kind of rewards. You can reward them for anything, right? Buying a certain thing, buying it more than once, whatever. And it basically allows you to kind of track your own rewards and privileges as well. Right. And then, of course, I call it the granddaddy of location-based rewards programs is Foursquare. So Foursquare, of course, is based on social media. Basically, your business listing is on it, and then you get like cool tools and stuff like that. So it'd be kind of similar to what Flock would do, a little bit bigger. The cool thing is that customers, they use their Foursquare to check in that they're at certain places, and then they get all kinds of little treats, and they can search for deals and all that kind of stuff and get updates automatically. So it's a larger program like Flock, but it's been around for a longer time.
I think what I found with Foursquare, I remember it being really, really popular about, 5 or 6 years
ago?
ago.
I haven't heard anyone talk about it a long time.
And my biggest thing is that I don't mind checking in at places but it almost felt almost intrusive. Because I felt like in order to get the deal, I basically had to tell the whole world I was there, which I got that, but I almost felt like I had to reveal where I was all the time, which was also like every once in a while I'll do a check-in at a place I really like a business, or I think that I had a really valuable experience. But by the same token, I just went, I don't want to have to do it to get the deal. Does that make sense?
Yes. Correct.
I felt like I was being forced to expose where I was.
It's because that revolves around. So Foursquare relies on social media for it, where Flock does not revolve on social media. So you're still getting the apps and bonuses from basically as soon as you walk in the door and your location services are on, it logs you in as you're here and here's today's special.
Exactly.
Cool.
Which is a cool thing.
It's not forcing you to share it to your stalker or the latest creepy person who's following you.
I've actually done it a couple of times where I'm like, I'm going to go and check in. Yeah, no, I really don't need to talk to anybody today.
Yeah, and so I want that control over whether or not I'm checking in or not, because again, creepy people. I mean, not that the world is stalking me and I've got my fans. I was
got to say all your stalkers.
All my stalkers, but it's just that idea of I don't want to be forced to do it to take advantage of the deal.
Right.
That makes sense.
It's too bad that they didn't have an option. You know how you can on Facebook you can be restricted or acquaintance. If you could if you could do a check-in, but not to share it publicly.
And I mean, but I get it. I mean, that's how Foursquare. That was their business model for Foursquare, right? It was because by having you socialize and share online that you're at a certain space, you're giving the restaurant advertising, and that's where you got the deal, and that's how they sold their model. So I get it, but it just left me with the ickies.
It's influencer marketing down to its basic level.
Yeah.
Next thing, because Stacey already touched on it, was travel websites. So yes, there's like booking and there's information about different sites, and yes, there's some of them that have loyalty points and programs. There's one that I found online. It's called OntarioTravel.net. I did not know that. It's an app. So this is centered around unique festivals and events in Ontario. And it's basically, it gives you suggestions. It has programs, festival. You can buy tickets for things online, but it's basically just as you're running around Ontario. So it might be a cool one. I'm going to provide the link for those who are doing road trips and stuff, especially with the kids during the summer. It's a good thing to go look for. And then, of course, every hotel and airline has their own loyalty program.
Yes.
And I get it. My big tip is find one you like and stick to it. This whole idea of going to 4 different point systems, it's very difficult to check. I do keep the notes, like my membership numbers or whatever, in my phone, because you get to one particular hotel and they're like, do you have this number?
Yeah.
And it does give you little things like, believe it or not, that's how you get free Wi-Fi at some places, is by making sure that you have a membership number. There's all kinds of weird things. Do you remember what you were going to say?
Oh, yes. So just comparing the idea of booking on technology versus working with a travel agent. So for dance competitions, because we don't always have the kids' schedule ahead of time. So I usually have to book like a 5 or 6 night window to cover the entire competition. Then once we get the kids' schedule, then we cancel beginning or ending.
My brother warned me about that when I was going to go watch my niece once.
And so most of the hotel chains aren't too bad, but the bigger resorts usually have a 30 days out, or there's a certain cutoff date for changes. After that date, you can't change anymore. Well, after the one competition, I remember the schedule came out and I didn't do it right away. And all of a sudden one day I'm like, oh my God, I got to check that cutoff date. And it was that day. I'm like, okay. So I reach out to, because it was a booking through hotels.com, through Expedia. So I called Expedia and I'm like, I need to make this change. The change cutoff time was 5 p.m. and it was 9 p.m. So I missed the cutoff by 4 hours. So I'm like, can you please contact the resort? I mean, it's 4 hours. It's the same day. Like, throw me a bone. I know I'm a hot mess mom. Can we just ask? So the guy put me on hold, came back about 15 minutes later. Yeah, no, the hotel won't do anything. And I'm just like,
I don't think so.
So I hung up. I'm like, he's like, so, did you get everything you needed today?
Obviously not.
Go off script, dude.
Yeah.
You didn't. So anyways.
Did you tell him that?
I did. I'm like, no, I didn't, because you didn't help me. Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day, ma'am. Okay, whatever. Click. So I then emailed the resort right away. Because the number was only like an 8 to 4 number. And it was 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, look, I'm 4 hours off the cutoff date. I know I'm asking for an exception. If it was like a few days or a week, I would totally get it. But we're talking 4 hours here. So I ended up getting the change done. They were very lovely about it and didn't give me any trouble, even though I didn't get a confirmation email. We sorted it out. It wasn't an issue. But then when I think about the number of times I called Stacy for my trip, and she was lovely and wonderful and went to bat for me when I needed something. But that's the difference between, well, I'm not going to share that, because that's the reality, right? Like, I'm not convinced this guy at hotels.ca even called the resort at that point. Because if the resort did it for me without any drama, so I'm like, I'd much rather deal with someone who face-to-face I can say, look, I'm stuck, can you help me? And she's going to go and do that help for me. Yep. Versus this service that, yes, I'm getting every 10th room free. And I mean, I still need to use it to a certain extent for sure. But I recognize that the difference in service that I'm getting, I know the risk I'm taking. But people need to realize that when you're working with a human being who's willing to go to bat for you in certain circumstances, there's a huge value to that. So anyways, that was my little testimonial. And that's not just a testimonial for Stacy. The reality is most travel agents are like you, right?
Absolutely.
But that idea of, I love technology, and the first one to go to technology like you or like Stephanie. I'm a self kind of independent, get my stuff done myself, all of that. But when I was traveling to Punta Cana, there's no question that I wanted to work with someone as awesome as Stacy, because I knew that I'd be taken care of. If I get screwed over in Toronto, it's a little bit different than if I get screwed over in another country. But definitely the value of having someone who will go to bat for you is huge. I think it can't be understated.
Good job.
There you go. Rant mode over.
I want to
I like we turned all of our venting into a positive. That's perfect. So a couple new things that I thought were kind of cool, just to sort of finish off this topic. There's a big rise right now in travel security apps, meaning that there's apps being developed that basically track users for cost-free evacuations, right, depending on where you're traveling. There's some that are focused on just health and safety. There's some of them are tracking users on demand that they're targeting, they're selling to corporations who have to send employees to a particular country for something, and they can actually track where they are through this app.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's basically for security purposes. There's some of them that are now running the emergency alert system.
I don't want to talk about that, because that'll be on our show.
Yeah.
Mine went off twice. Mine went off twice.
Mine too.
Mine went up 3 times. I got an English, a French, and it's canceled.
Driving on the 401, and that siren comes in, I thought I was going to die. I almost drove off the road, and came back in the middle of the traffic. Anyways, I could go on for, that was a big, huge, 80 comments on my little Facebook
If it was
post.
part of our theme, I would actually let us rant on it.
That would be fun.
But anyway, they're actually taking care of the emergency alert systems in both New York and San Francisco. It's basically based on an app system, which is different. And then there's some that are being developed almost like a panic button strictly for smartwatches.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of really cool developments that are coming out there.
Although I'm a little disappointed when you said travel security app. I'm like, can I get in front of the security line in the airport? That's what I'm looking for right
It's called Nexus.
I know.
You'll have Stacy and I did a whole episode coming up on that, so you'll be
I
able
will
to talk
listen
about
to that.
That's the hotel and travel security episode. So there's a new one that came out, and Cynthia's gonna love this. It's called Hyr, meaning HYR. So there's actually going to be a CBC video link that'll be included in the show notes for this. My eyes opened up. It is like an Uber for shift workers, meaning as opposed to a waitress. Once you are a qualified server, you can pick up a shift at any restaurant who's on the app.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
So what's happening is that I'm using an example. So I know of one girl who's like, she works retail during the day. She takes a couple shifts at a restaurant at night, like to make extra money.
Yeah.
But sometimes at one restaurant slow, I know if she had the ability to go and pick up a shift, at a diner someplace or another chain restaurant somewhere or whatever else, because she's got nothing to do on a Saturday during the day or she needs some extra cash. So that's kind of thing. So it's happening in bigger cities right now. One of the big confusions is the government, of course, is concerned that some of these employers are using it to get around a lot of the new legislation that we were just talking about at the beginning of the year, right? With the bonus days and everything else. So the big thing is, who's the employer?
Yeah.
Right?
Just like each new employer you have.
So the whole thing is
hires
but essentially it's a temp agency.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So when you think about it as a temp agency, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. So it would be it's the hire company.
Okay.
So it's exactly the same, operates the same as a temp agency. So so if this job is so much per hour, they add on an extra so much per hour that is basically added to. So the company, they may not have to hire someone outright, but they can just post, we have a bartending shift for, and then they have a profile. So you can actually say, qualified for this, and this. And then, of course, I'm going to guess, because I haven't seen the app, but I'm guessing there's also some kind of a review rating type system for employers who have hired them. Hey, she's a 5-star bartender, blah, 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 that kind of thing.
Like that's all, from a skills standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. But here's the thing. When you're, especially in maybe, even in a chain restaurant, there's a menu, and you need you're relying on your server to know the products and know the food and know how it works, so that when they walk in, they can make recommendations and they can answer questions about the food. Now, how does that work?
Chain restaurants, it wouldn't be an issue, especially if I know one girl that used to work for me. She worked at Milestones down Southern Ontario. And she came up here to go to university.
Right, Milestones for Milestones is one thing.
That's
but
what
in
I
the
meant.
same city, so would they have to be certified for different restaurants in order to actually?
I don't think so.
You know what I mean?
That's what I think. It has to do with the employer. It's basically, here's the menu or here's the basics, and I guess certain chains will be doing it. So I'm not sure how it's going to work, but. Anyways, the interesting thing is that they're planning to expand into retail during the summer, so you'll get retail shifts. And then from there, they're actually looking into any other industry that has to do with shift work.
I just think product knowledge.
Yeah. So anyways, it'll be interesting. So I'll put the CBC video link on there for those of you who want to see it. And then the last thing is, because I made a little post on our Facebook page this morning, just wanted to see what the consensus was going to be from some of our followers. So when do you post that pic, and when do you put the phone down when you're traveling? Or when you're eating out. So, as much as we kind of live with technology, I find that it really depends on who I'm with. There's been times where Norm and I have gone for dinner, and yes, if there's a period of time he had to go outside and make a phone call for work or something like that, I'll go through, take a picture, post something online, check for an email that I was waiting for, something like that. Usually he left the table. I don't usually necessarily do it when he's there, unless there's something specific, or someone's texting me or whatever, like our son, which tends to happen on occasion. But I didn't realize it that I was out of town at a funeral a couple weeks ago. I didn't touch my phone for a day and a half. I didn't post anything. I think it was the time because I was there to see relatives and cousins and everything else. And I'm thinking, you know what? This is not really the time. There's going to be some family photos and stuff that'll probably circulate online, but I don't have to be the one to take them and do them.
That's right.
But it was one of those things that didn't even cross my mind. Me did not take my phone. So I think that even for vacations, there's been a couple of times where I didn't grab my phone because I wanted to be there. So I was itching for sunshine. We went to Portugal. We're down the southern tip, and I'm down at the beach, and it was barely anybody there. It was super quiet. I walked all the way out on the rocks as far as I can go. And I was just the wind was blowing, and I could smell the sea, and I was in a happy place. And of course, Norm's taking video of pictures of me out of the kind of defeats the purpose. But it was, there's certain times during vacation, there's certain times dining, there's certain times visiting a winery where you probably are missing out on things. And I think it's a matter of figuring out, okay, am I just taking pictures and videos of this because I need to, because I do it for work sometimes. I'm swear to God, there's some people probably at restaurants that probably just roll their eyes and they see me.
Yeah.
I'm seriously like, I'm taking photos because I'm actually writing reviews. I'm not doing it because I'm, just a nerd.
Mhm.
But it's surprising how it's easy to turn it on and off when you actually get in that mindset to do so.
I have a comment that I'd actually like to share from our post
Sure.
on that
Okay.
because I thought it was a really good point to make.
Mhm.
And so Lynn had said, yes, Wi-Fi. And she said, it's not a work thing for me. I enjoy social media.
Yeah.
Taking it away wouldn't feel freeing to me. I love photographing, Instagramming, blogging. It would feel like a punishment. So for her, it's that idea of this is what she does for fun. And it's a relaxing experience for her. She also has been a photographer and dabbles in that kind of stuff. And she's also a foodie. So she loves like documenting her food and talking about what she's eating and all those kinds of things. So again, it's her interest. So for her, she's like, if you take it away from me, then I'm not relaxing and I'm not enjoying because this is part of my process. And I thought it was really interesting that she voiced it the way she did. And then she said, and quite frankly, in her words, if social media stresses people out, it might require them to reevaluate their use of it. That idea that if you're feeling like you're taking away from living, then maybe you should reevaluate how you're using it.
Right.
We like to post a lot, or we like to share a lot. I mean, I'm always taking pictures of my food a lot of times because no one would believe that I crave fettuccine when I was at the chocolate place. But that idea of being able to share that experience when you get home as well too. So I think it's that idea of what makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Now that said, I feel like there's a little bit as well too when we were in Punta Cana and there were people literally in the pool on their phone. I'm like, hey, there's got to be like a line where
They had their phone in the pool?
so many in the pool
I'm
with their
beside the pool.
phones. And I mean, like mine's waterproof and it's near there because I didn't have my children with me. But that idea of like, did you really need to be like literally talking on the phone or texting while you're in the pool? So I mean, maybe those conversations come out of those people who again maybe don't have the healthiest of habits. Perhaps.
I'm glad people have never taken pictures of Norm and I under a palapa with our dueling laptops. We've made friends with people who work in the restaurants and stuff. We've had bottle service poolside where they're not supposed to have bottles. They'll bring out the champagne bucket because you know what? Everything's got a price. Put a bottle in there because we're treating ourselves because we're putting in a work day, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of overcast or whatever. And it's one of those things that we both just in the morning, we got sunglasses on and and he's got earphones in, I got earphones in. Like it's like we're together but not together, but we're both self-employed.
Yes.
And I think that's one of those things that it sounds awful, but I look forward to my vacation to catch up on things
That you didn't have time to do before.
the fun parts of my business sometimes are the things that I don't have time for. So I'd love to be able to do more writing, and I'd love to be able to do and catch up on some reviews, and I'd love to be able to work on new recipes, and I'd love to be able to do those things.
You're enjoying your time.
But I don't have time to do that. And normally I sometimes bounce ideas off each other on business planning things. I mean, right now we joke around, like we always joke around that, when we're in work mode, we have a drive-by relationship.
Yeah.
Right? Like we have little hand signals. The morning is, you can't see it, but it's like it's kind of like a little hand signal.
It's a little like a Nazi
You don't even
salute accepted.
But we're in a routine. Like we don't have to speak in the morning. We each have coffee and he does his thing and I do mine, and we're both early birds and go to bed early. Like that's just our routine. But when we're home, it's work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's how we live our lives, is that when we aren't traveling, we are basically just doing the day-to-day working stuff, so that when we do have the chance to go away, yes, we are enjoying it, and that's why we get to travel the way we do, because we don't we don't go and, like you said, we've never been to Disney. We don't do a lot of the other trips that other people do, but we'll save up, and then if we're going to go on a trip, we go on a trip. But we also, because we're self-employed, we can't just shut things down for the week.
You can't. And I agree with you on that, because I've sat there and booked people and also done Skype appointments for therapy appointments with people and counseling. So, I mean, I've been on the beach, right? And it's hard to explain, but if it's the way you do it, it's the way you do it.
Well, and the thing is, when you talk about you and Norm with your side-by-side laptops and earbuds and whatever else, and that's actually boiled down if you want to look at it like kids between the age of like 2 and 6, you see a lot of what's called parallel play. That idea of they're still together, still being social, but they're doing their own thing. So it's not that they're ignoring each other or whatever else. It's just, you're still being social, you're still in the space, but you each have your own activity.
That's cute. Are you telling it's childish?
No, not at all. Mark and I do the same thing. We're all a big bunch of kids. But it's that same idea. Like he could be in one room watching or doing something, and I could be in the other room. Well, we just are side by side with our laptops, and we're still together, and we're still spending time together. It's not like we're ignoring each other. We still have conversations sometimes and all.
Mhm.
But that idea of parallel play, especially for introverted folks like Mark and myself too, sometimes at the end of the day we just don't want to deal with other people, but just being in the same space as each other is enough comfort
Exactly.
around there as well too. So there's a lot to be said for that idea of parallel play.
Yes. Nicely said.
Especially after you've been together for like 7 days straight, you're like, I just need to not.
Yes.
The value that's what a 20-year relationship looks like, folks.
Well, and same thing for us. I mean, Stacey and I have had conversations about different types of travelers. I am I can just park my ass for the week. Norm's so what are we doing now? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing?
He's got his visor on and his fanny pack and he's ready to go.
Okay, first of all,
you would never.
If you ever meet my husband,
I can't wait to
you
see
will
the picture of
never
it. I just
see
need to
him in a
Photoshop that.
I have this cool little designer, like a zippered thing that I wear when I went for walks the other day. He goes, "Is that your designer fanny pack?" Give me the big Raz. I'm like, first of all, fanny packs are in, so bite me.
Fanny packs are never in stuff.
They're not the classic fanny packs.
It
This is like a little. It looks like a clutch. And it's quilted and it's black. It's beautiful.
If you're wearing a pouch around your waist,
It's attached
it is a
around my
fanny
waist.
pack and it is never cool.
Yeah.
It may be responsible for travel and it may be practical,
Yes.
but it's never cool.
Okay.
Oh my
Mine's cool. I am so posting a picture of it later. I am so cool. All right, enough of that. Okay, so next week we're going into destination weddings. I was married at a destination wedding.
I was married at a destination wedding.
Stacey's been to it.
I've been to a couple.
She's been to a couple.
Yeah.
She's booked a couple.
There
Have you been
but
to
I
one?
swear if I were to ever get
Well,
married
you've
again,
been to
that's
a
the way I'd
resort.
do it.
Have you seen a
Yes.
destination wedding?
Yes.
Oh my god! I mean, okay, we'll have all kinds of funny stories. We're gonna have all the do's, the don'ts.
So many stories.
So many stories.
A ton of pictures.
And a lot of pictures, which I think will be a lot of fun. So make sure you catch that out. So make sure to subscribe, rate us, and like us on all the podcast players and apps. And when I say subscribe and rate us, I'm not just like kind of saying this out of my ass. So please, one of the things that actually helps people find us on all of those podcast players is they sometimes get ranked based on search results get ranked based on if people are listening to it. So if you've already been listening to us for quite a while or you're just new to us and you kind of like our vibe, and no, not all these episodes are this long, but we had a lot to vent about technology today. And we also, the four of us have all not been in the same room at the same time for a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
So we're having kind of a reunion dinner thing. So please make sure to take that time on your app to give us your star rating. Hopefully it's a big one. Make sure you can actually leave a little review for us if you kind of like a certain style of something that we're doing, how we present certain topics, about how knowledgeable we are about certain things. Whatever you want to share with
waiting
us.
for the next E-rated one to see what kind of naughty things you're getting
Which
into.
will be coming to your ears very shortly. And then, of course, besides all those apps, if you don't know how to listen to us on any of those smartphone devices and you are old school and prefer to do everything directly on your desktop or laptop unit, you can always go and reach us at the built-in player on flyingforflavor.ca. And I forget to mention sometimes, you can also find us on our YouTube channel where all of the audio only episodes are actually showing up on the YouTube channel, so you can find us there as well. So until next week, peoples. Cheers.
Cheers.